The opening days of the Tour of Missouri this year were dominated by the warriors of the road, the sprinters on day 1 and 2. It was Mark Cavendish. He was rapidly overtaken by Thor Hushovd, and then it was the turn of JJ Hayedo. Last year's winner, Christian van der Velde, out with a broken wrist. That left the hopes of Garmin Slipstream very much firmly on the shoulders of Dave Zabriskie.
David Zabriskie, Garmin Slipstream. What a ride today.
At last, it's the weekend, and that means we're lining up to the grand finale of this year's Tour of Missouri. And of course, over the next 2 days, we will decide who will be the overall winner of this great and dramatic bike race. The riders this morning will move away from Chillicothe for a 110-mile ride right down here into downtown St. Joseph, which just happens to be the home and the birthplace of the legendary Pony Express. Hello everybody, my name's Paul Scher and I'm here alongside Frankie Andreo. Yesterday was the pivotal stage. It was what we all expected it to be, the individual time trial, the race of truth, and of course it reformed the top end of the overall classification. I have to say though, Frankie, looking at the results yesterday, no real major surprises.
No real major surprises, but David Zabriskie held up to that pressure, met those expectations, and did a phenomenal ride, covering the 19 miles at over 31 miles per hour. But there's 4 riders now still within touch of 1 minute of David Zabriskie. They know how strong David Zabriskie is. They're not sure how strong his team is, and I'm sure there's going to be a bit of a showdown.
Well, let's just have a quick look back and see how long it took and how he rode to get himself up into the top position in this year's Tour of Missouri over the first 5 days of the race. The journey across Missouri started with a circuit race around the very heart of St. Louis. And of course, on day 1, it was dominated by the fast men, the warriors of the route. It looked as if it was going to be Thor Hushovd, but it wasn't. Mark Cavendish got win number 1 and the first new yellow jersey.
Cavendish taking an expected win, and on day 2, a repeat for Mark Cavendish in the yellow jersey after his team had worked all day long to put him in that winning position.
The next day was still going to be a flat day, and charging into the town of Rolla, a rather confusing sprint. And once again, it looked as if Mark Cavendish was setting himself up for win number 3, but not on this occasion. The God of Thunder came out to take the victory, and of course, he became the brand new leader of this bike race as the riders moved down to St. James for the ride into the capital city of Jefferson City.
But in one of the few corners, a crash. Sebastian Hayedo going down there, but on the uphill sprint of the Capitol Wall, it was JJ Hayedo.
The Argentinian finally getting himself the stage victory he's been chasing since the very first day, and also to boot he got himself the overall lead. But stage 5 was the pivotal stage that everybody had been waiting for, the individual time trial, and everybody wanted to know how the US national champion Dave Zabriskie was going to perform.
One of the favorites out on course, Tom Zerbel, also first split time 12:28, second at the U.S. Time Trial Championships, and Levi Leipheimer getting ready to take the start for Team Astana. He was looking to upset everyone.
A lot of big names still to come down to the end of the overall classification, like Hincapie and Rogers, but Tom Zerbel was doing a great performance, but he could do nothing to match the times being set by Dave Zabriskie out on the course.
But at the finish, Tom Zerbel setting the fastest time at 37:14. And here is the Olympic silver medalist, Gustav Larsson.
Gustav Larsson himself posting fast times, but at the finish line, Dave Zabriskie was the man who's going to do the best on the day. 36 minutes and 30 seconds, best time at 31 miles an hour.
He won in 2007. He is looking to make another mark. He is catching many riders out on course. George Hincapie, of course, Columbia HTC, doing a lot of work all week on the start ramp right there. The yellow jersey of JJ Hayedo taking off, and Levi Leipheimer now rolling in towards the finish.
Well, not a great performance by Levi Leipheimer, stopping the clock in 3rd place, 37:35. But the Olympic silver medalist Gustav Larsson came in to challenge the time of the man at the top of the leaderboard, Zabriskie. Second best time for the Swede.
The only last man out on course, J.J. Hayedo in the yellow jersey, as George Hincapie comes rolling through towards the finish. He had done a lot of work and not exactly the best time he had hoped for. Of course, coming off a crash, he did not have the best legs. And the yellow jersey, the sprinter, J.J. Hayedo, not a factor in the time trial, but David Zabriskie going over 31 miles per hour.
Well, this is what the overall classification looks like right now. Dave Zabriskie at the top, 30 seconds ahead of the Swede, Gustav Larsson. Certainly a very dominating performance there by Dave Zabriskie, but to put it into perspective, you have to look at the man who finished in second place. Gustav Larsson just happens to be the silver medalist from Beijing last year in the individual time trial. Now that Dave Zabriskie is at the top end of the overall classification, he will be challenged all the way to Kansas City and the finish line tomorrow. But Frankie, today it's a little bit testy on the running towards the finish. Will the other teams try and dethrone Zabriskie this afternoon, or will they wait until the final day?
Well, the teams and the riders are starting to run out of time, so today is very important. And of course, today's course more of the same, very undulating. The terrain is the worst nightmare for these riders. This is their enemy. But for David Zabriskie with the yellow jersey, he's going to have to look out. There's a KOM only 7 miles before the finish. And with 3 teams with 2 riders in the top 10, Saxo Bank, Bissell, and Astana, he should definitely expect a challenge today.
Well, they have to challenge every time that they can, but when we come back after the break, we will go straight into the action of stage number 6 with Dave Zabriskie leading this bike race with a 30-second advantage. Welcome back to stage 6 of the Tour of Missouri this year, from Chillicothe to St. Joseph, a ride of 110 miles and of course a little bit testing down towards the end with a nasty climb at 7 miles to go. An almost carnival-like atmosphere at the start as the riders now face up to the final 2 days of racing. And of course 2 days of racing enjoyed by the American national champion George Hincapie. But strangely enough, there's an Italian team here who ride American bicycles.
We're here with one of the great sprinters of the world, racing for Cannondale and Leaky Gas, Francesco Chicchi. Let's hear what he has to say about the racing so far.
Penso che la gente ce n'è tantissima, poi per noi come squadra è molto importante far bene davanti a tanta questa gente, con lo sponsor americano Cannondale che ci tiene in particolar modo, e sicuramente faremo una bella volata per portare in alto il nostro sponsor.
So Francesco says that, of course, for him it's gone very well, fourth yesterday, but in front of all this large crowd of people here, he knows it's important for his American sponsor Cannondale, but he's excited to be here, and we'll keep on trying throughout the week.
I'm sure they will. They didn't come here for fun. They certainly would like to go away with a victory if they can. Just listen to the countdown.
1.
Well, the gun is off and the riders underway now. 115 riders left in this field, and there on the right-hand side in the yellow jersey is Dave Zabriskie. Having a quick chat there to Levi Leipheimer. Congratulations. I wonder if Levi was actually trying to grab that yellow jersey.
I'm sure Levi was thinking about grabbing that yellow jersey, but it is firmly on Dave Zabriskie's shoulders after a fabulous time trial yesterday. Of course, the two good friends and going against each other in many races, and this time Dave Zabriskie came out on top. At the start this morning, they gave away 160 bikes to the kids, and right now these riders are in full attack mode, putting as much pressure as they can on the Garmin Slipstream team.
Well, after the slight neutralized section as we came away from the start town this morning, it's really been hammered down right from the very beginning. This is a move coming from Jeremy Hunt, a former 2-time British national champion. He rides for Cervelo Test Team, and he's got himself an advantage there, Frankie, of around about 20 to 30 seconds. He, I think, is the sort of rider they can allow to go clear, because Jeremy is a long way down in the overall standings.
He's a long way down. 1 minute and 5 seconds, the peloton is back. It took a long time till Jeremy Hunt was able to go out there by himself. Garmin Slipstream controlling this group. It was a very active, averaging 32 miles per hour during the first 10 minutes of this race. But Jeremy Hunt is now out on his own, and right there on the front, Will Frischhorn controlling things.
Well, over the last few days, we've watched Team Columbia HTC do all of the pacemaking on the front end of the main field. Now it is the responsibility of Garmin Slipstream to do that pacemaking. Jeremy Hunt has got himself a slight advantage over the main field, but it seems to me, Frankie, as if it's beginning to stabilize out, and they're not too happy with the breakaway situation.
Well, actually, I would believe that Garmin Slipstream would allow Jeremy Hunt to take enough time to be able to get away. But the other teams, they want a stage win. Jeremy Hunt had good form, just won a stage of the Tour of Denmark. But as Garmin Slipstream continues to ride tempo, I think it's only a matter of time before the other teams are going to come to the front, and we already see the gap starting to shrink.
down to 45 seconds. Dave Zabriskie there with a 30-second advantage over the second-place rider in the overall standings, Gustav Larsson. Maybe the challenge will come from Team Saxo Bank down towards the end. And I have to say, Frankie, I do think the run-in towards the finish really does lend itself to the possibility of an attack. Tor Hushovd now having a chat there with Dave Zabriskie.
Yeah, Tor Hushovd with Cervelo test team, Jeremy Hunt with Cervelo. Perhaps they're trying to work out a deal, but Garmin Slipstream's on the front. David Zabriskie's had a very up-and-down career with some serious injuries, and you can see the wind is definitely blowing. It's much windier today than we've seen in the other days, and that's going to be to a disadvantage to Jeremy.
Well, it is. That's the big wind farm over to the right-hand side there. Each one of those turbines generating 1.5 megawatts of energy, and renewable energy at that. And, of course, let's not forget the wind farm there is the presenter of today's stage. Jeremy Hunt, as we've said, is a two-time British national champion, but he hasn't got very much of an advantage now, Frankie. Just 10 seconds. Very shortly, he'll be back in the main field.
Well, there's Team Garmin on the front with their first-place rider, David Zabriskie. Just behind them, Bissell. They have the third-place rider, Tom Zerbel. George Hincap, you can see the peak, and you see the field. The wind kind of pushing the riders over to the right side of the screen. They are about to catch Jeremy Hunt, and the attacks are coming right away.
Well, as soon as they come up to the slipstream of Jeremy Hunt, it's pretty much all back together in the race. On the horizon, the finish town of St. Joseph.
We're here at the Tour of Missouri stage start with Team Liquigas, and Rory and Franco are going to tell us a little bit about what it's like to ride a great American bike on these great American roads in Missouri.
Ti chiede come ti senti correndo sulla bicicletta americana e sulle strade in America?
Ma è una bella emozione, e soprattutto correre con una bicicletta come questa, perché è una bici in cui mi trovo molto bene, è molto leggera, è molto rigida e anche molto confortevole, quindi per percorsi come questi qua in Missouri, dove non ci sono salite lunghe ma sono salite corte, tutto su e giù, è una ottima bici.
Says it gives him a great pleasure to ride in the States on board his Cannondale, which he finds as a great bike. It's very lightweight, and it's a good compromise. Also has a nice amount of comfort, which here in Missouri, the roads, the climbs for Pele aren't really long, tough climbs, but they're more up and down all day. And for him, that's a great bike to ride on roads like that.
Well, everybody really throwing caution to the wind here on the stage 6 running towards the finish line, Frankie. Lots of attacks coming thick and fast. Now, this is a very dangerous move because the second-place rider there is 4th overall, and that is Marco Pinotti.
Yes, that's Cataldo and Pinotti. The two riders going right around Moises Aldape. Moises Aldape going for the KOM, trying to solidify that jersey on his shoulders. But this is very dangerous with 2nd and 3rd on GC going up the road. Where is Garmin Slipstream? They've been on the front all day, but right now the riders are really trying to test David Zabriskie.
Well, that's what it's all about. Zabriskie doesn't look to be panicking at all there. Now, he mustn't panic, actually, Frankie. The most important thing to do, really, is to use your team. Well, it's all back together now on the front end of the main field. The control is Cervelo test team. That's obviously for Tor Hushovd, trying to get himself win number 2.
Cervelo test team very much in control. An attack on the right-hand side of the road. Colavita Sutter home. We've seen many attacks from many riders. Levi Leipheimer sitting there in 3rd wheel. Perhaps he's thinking about a sprint, but right behind him, the true sprinters are sitting.
Well, they're all queuing up now, waiting for these final kilometers to see whether or not they can unleash their sprint. That's Jeremy Hunt on the front end of the main field, but a very good move by Levi Leipheimer. I think, Frankie, more than anything else, he wants to stay at the front end of the main field in case there's a split on the run-in towards the finish.
Well, we saw what happened going into Jefferson City with a crash. Luckily, it was under 3 kilometers. Right now, these riders are flying down the road, getting ready to set up a sprint. It's been very aggressive racing. Cervelo is on the front. I'm sure Columbia HTC is going to come to the front. We're going to see Colavita Sutter home. All the teams trying to move up. And there's Dave Zabriskie moving up on his teammate's wheel.
Well, that's Danny Pate there, gone back to look after Dave Zabriskie to make sure he doesn't ride too far back in this field. Still, the white jerseys of Team Cervelo test team all over the front end of the main field. There is now, just in second rank there, a line of riders from Columbia HTC. George Hincapie is there. Maybe today they're going to try and get a sprint up there for their man Bernard Eisel.
Well, Bernard Eisel obviously very fast on his own, and without Mark Cavendish, this is a perfect opportunity for him. But Tor Hushovd has been battling against JJ Hayedo. Also, the points jersey is still on the line. Both of these sprinters are going to be thinking about it. You can see it spread out across the road. There is a mad dash to try to move up. The pace is going quicker and quicker, and pretty soon you're not going to be able to move up because it's just going to be going too fast.
Well, Cervelo test team in control, but now look at the line here from Columbia HTC. Are they going to take over the responsibility at the front end of the main field? That's Hincapie in the blue jersey in 4th position. Behind him is Bernard Eisel. Now it's Columbia HTC. No more Mark Cavendish in this race, but they do have a spare sprinter in the shape of Eisel.
And there's Michael Berry. He's saying, thank you very much. I will take over from here. On his wheel right now, Tony Cruz from BMC sneaking in, but Columbia HTC has a great lineup there. George Hincapie, Bernard Eisel on him. The rest of the sprinters fighting for position. They're not really sure which wheel to be on because this sprint is a relatively unknown one for them.
Couple more swingers round towards the finish line, up into about 6th position. You can see the dark green jersey of Thor Hushovd. He's got to bide his time and wait till the final moment, but still, Columbia HTC, Frankie, all over the front end of this midfield. There is the black banner across the road. Underneath it, a red flag indicating 1,000 meters to go.
1 kilometer to go, and as Berry pulls off, Tony Cruz is stuck out in front. He's had 2 top 10s in the sprint stages, but I don't think he's going to be able to go from this far out. Columbia HTC now getting ready for the final left-hand corner as they get ready to head in towards the finish. Flying around the corners, you can see the blue jersey of George Hincapie in 2nd. Bernard Eisel is on his wheel. The other sprinters getting ready to follow, and now 300 meters from the line.
Last sweeping bend now, full speed ahead round this corner. Still Columbia HTC on the front end of the main field. Hincapie's right up there in 2nd place. Eisel is in 3rd place. Thor Hushovd in 4th with the green jersey on his shoulder. You can see the riders pulling off one by one. Hincapie now makes the big lead. He's trying to sort it out for his man from Austria, Eisel. Eisel is over on the right-hand side, but there's another acceleration. Cervelo test team are trying to get Thor Hushovd there. Hushovd right up on the inside in the green. He's got the acceleration. This is an ideal finish for Thor Hushovd coming up on the outside there, but there's a move on the left-hand side in the lime green of Liquigas on the line. It looks like it's Francesco Chicchi has got himself the victory there. He just nipped the victory away from Thor Hushovd, almost from underneath the nose of the man from Norway. There's confirmation, Frankie. There, Francesco Chicchi gets the victory, just like he got last year, but that was on the final stage.
And this was pretty much the last chance he could win that sprint, but Zabriskie still safe in yellow, and Gustav Larsson still in 2nd place.
So no change at all in the overall classification. Still the yellow jersey on the shoulders of Dave Zabriskie. When we come back, we'll talk to Tom Zerbel, who's 3rd overall. St. Joseph turned out to be the haven for the sprinters, but it wasn't Thor Hushovd, it wasn't JJ Haedo on this occasion. Of course, it was Francesco Chicchi of Italy who got himself across the line in 1st place. And with all the riders finishing exactly the same time, there were no changes at all in the overall classification. Well, we're joined by a man who lies in 3rd place overall after a great individual time trial yesterday, Tom Zerbel. Tom, that was a great ride yesterday, and you must be fairly proud of yourself being up as high as 3rd overall in this race.
I'm pretty happy with it. This is a big result for Bissell, but, you know, on a personal level, I was a little disappointed to be so far back from 1st. And, you know, if Larson wouldn't have had the trouble he had with the moto, he would have probably had 30 seconds on me as well. So I'm already looking to how I can close that gap. But, yeah, we're happy with 3rd.
But also made it a fairly complicated day today as well, because although we only watched the last couple of hours of TV ourselves here, it was fairly rapid right from the start. In fact, a very rapid stage, almost 31.5 miles an hour.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was the exact opposite of what we've seen so far this week, but it's what we expected coming here. Last year, this race was really hard. Just constant attacks and every team trying to show their dominance. So that's what we saw today. It was kind of a build-up over the last few days, but definitely made for some good racing.
And Tom, why do you think in the beginning of the Tour of Missouri it was pretty level, a lot of people riding behind Columbia HTC, allowing them to control, but today with Garmin having the yellow jersey, it was free for all because there was groups being split. You guys averaged over 32 miles per hour. What do you think was the difference between then and now?
Probably a couple of things. I think some of the directors are getting kind of irritated with not being represented in the breaks, and you know, we saw the GC shakeup yesterday, so we know what teams are going to be there for the GC and what ones aren't. So the teams that aren't have to try something, you know, to get some press. So that and you know, just having Columbia High Road off the front. They're kind of intimidating. So when they're up there, I think the controlled race, everyone's like, oh, why attack? You know, it's futile. So I think it was just the right combination, and people were just, you know, giving it their all.
Well, you guys have been aggressive during this race, getting into moves and participating. For yourself personally, how do you balance saving yourself for the time trial. Now that the time trial is over, you're in third place. Tomorrow, is that a day that you feel that you can attack, and do you think there'll be any change in the GC? Because it's supposed to be a tough course.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the profile, it's pretty scary. You know, it's only, 115K or something, but that could be a brutal 115K if it's as bad as the profile looks. So I would, this team coming into this race, we'd be thrilled with a third place, but you can't think like that. It's going to be so aggressive, and I have to be up front. And, we have a couple other guys that time trialed well, so if a small group gets away and there's not a strong presence at the front from other teams, a breakaway could stay away. So I think we're just all going to have to be rotating and taking our turns, because
it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, if it's anything like today, man, it was chaos, anarchy out there, but definitely a lot of fun.
Well, Tom, let's also bear in mind that next year you're changing teams. You're going to a big team. You're going to ride for Garmin Slipstream next season. That is going to be a little bit of a change in tempo for you as well, because I think joining a big team like that, maybe this week was a little bit of a learning curve for you.
Definitely. I think my role will be slightly different on Garmin. I don't think I'll be leading the team my first year. It'll be a great experience. I've never been the guy getting the bottles. I've never been, the one setting tempo on the front. So I'm looking forward to it. And of course, racing in the biggest races in the world is going to be a thrill. So.
Well, it certainly will, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow as well, because tomorrow is going to be the final day, the climax that we've all been waiting for here at the Tour of Missouri, and it's going to be the circuit race right around the heart of Kansas City. It's going to be a humdinger as well, with 2 climbs every lap, 7 laps of the city, and it will be the final decider of who is going to be the final outright winner of the 2009 Tour of Missouri. So on behalf of Tom Zerbel, thank you for joining us, Frankie Andreu, and all of the crew out here at St. Joseph. We'll see you tomorrow. Don't miss it, because it'll be a great finale.